Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Movie Chatter. I'm Eric and I'm here tonight with Lou and with Robin. Robin, how you doing tonight?
Super good.
Super good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Not just merely good or really good. Lou, are you doing super good?
I am doing super good as well, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
As opposed to being super bad, which is a movie that I haven't seen. So
It was not super bad, was not super bad. It
Okay.
wasn't super good. It was super medium, super mediocre. Whereas I'm doing like
Lou.
moderately good. So now I kind of feel bad. Like now I feel like I'm
Moderately
bringing the bar down by merely being good, which I thought was a good thing. It's right there in the title.
underachieving.
Yeah, I know. Well, tonight we're going to talk about a movie, and I don't know whether you guys think it's good or not, because we didn't discuss it prior to recording the show, nor have we seen it prior to deciding on this movie. We kind of decided we weren't going to do movies that none of the three of us have seen, and yet, here we are, once again, doing exactly that. We're trying to break this cycle of movies that we haven't seen before that we're recording on, and then they all turn out to be crappy. Did we break the cycle? Was this movie a good movie? What do you guys think, Lou?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a well put together movie. It felt very.
It was a very emphatic
It was
endorsement
funny
there.
'cause, you know,
Yeah.
well, no. I mean, you know, to me, I mean, it was good. Good actors, good direction, very believable. I felt like I was watching a theatrical release movie.
Okay.
Which is supposed to be. You know, it was supposed to be a
It
theatrical.
actually
release movie.
was. It did hit theaters.
Yeah, that's true.
All
it did.
two of
It
them.
did. But yeah, no, it was a really well done movie. You know, I mean, I the actors did a great job. I like the actors in terms of what they do normally. I mean, you know, Jared Leto and Denzel Washington and Rami Malek do a great job of what they do, even though I don't always like their characters. But I think it's kind of a testament to them doing really well at the characters that I don't like. You know what I mean? If that makes sense to you.
I would agree with that. I thought, I don't know. I think the movie was okay. I'll come back to that when we discuss it here in a few minutes. And I agree with you. The acting was really good and the cast was brilliant. Robin, I'm curious what you thought.
Yeah, you know, it was okay. I mean, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I watched it. I have a little bit of a little leery about covering it in these times, but I'm gonna give it the old college try.
Uh-oh. Great. So
But
it
that's for
looks like we're
spoilers.
getting into controversial stuff again. We're going to get canceled.
No, not. No.
We'll see. Well, so, okay. So
But
far,
Denzel Washington is one of my favorite actors.
even in a bad movie, Denzel Washington's good. So we have that going at least. So it sounds like we've done a little bit better this time around with picking a movie that we haven't seen before and we're going to cover anyway, because at least it doesn't suck. It's just, yeah, it's okay. So that's good. We're moving in the right direction there. All right. So for those who don't know, we are going to get into spoilers here. This is a really hard movie to talk about without discussing spoilers. It's a crime drama. It felt a lot to me like Seven by David Fincher with, who was it? Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey. Different from that, it's certainly different in theme, different in tone a little bit, but it had that same kind of style to the plot and the storytelling. So the description from IMDb: Kern County Deputy Sheriff Joe Deacon is sent to Los Angeles for what should have been a quick evidence gathering assignment. Instead, he becomes entangled in the search for a serial killer who is terrorizing the city. So the main character is played by, here I am on my iPad and I don't know whether to use my mouse or my finger here. The main character is played by Denzel Washington. That's Deke, or Joe Deacon. We've got Rami Malek playing LA police detective Jim Baxter. And then Jared Leto is the prime suspect, Albert Sparma. those are the three main characters. There were a lot of other cast that I've recognized from other various shows and a few movies, but those are really the three primary actors that carry the film. Directed by John Lee Hancock. Now, he wrote and directed this. He's written and directed various other movies. He wrote Snow White and the Huntsman, which I haven't seen, but I heard mixed things about. The Blind Side, which people said was really good. He wrote and directed that. He wrote and directed The Alamo. He directed The Rookie, which I really liked, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, and Saving Mr. Banks. So, some movies that people have heard of. He's not an unknown director.
But this is his first foray as a triple threat: director, writer, producer.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is all his.
So if we don't like it, I hate to tell you, John, but it's on you. All right. Let's talk a little bit before we delve into it and give any sort of analysis, because there is a little bit to figure out in this movie. I'll go first this time. I think, the strongest point obviously was the casting and the acting. Like we said, Denzel Washington never does a bad job. So you've got that going for you. Rami Malek, I haven't seen him do anything bad either. And I thought he was brilliant in this. The expression, he has a really good scope of expressions, but yet in a subtle way. There's just very minor deviations in his facial expressions to go from interested to frustrated to maybe there's something going on under the surface there. He's very good at subtle expressions. And then Jared Leto, I don't know what to think about him because I never like any of his characters. And yet he does a really good job. He was Joker in Suicide Squad. He was the main antagonist in Blade Runner 2049. And I know he's been in a bunch of other things too. He's a scary dude. Like there's something, it's the characters he plays where there's something not right, but he does a brilliant job of portraying that kind of actor or that type of character rather.
I feel like he needs to play Charlie Manson at some point.
I feel like maybe he is Charlie Manson. Like, dude's just really good at playing creepy serial killer style roles.
And yet he's also a rock star.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Does he have a band?
No. He does.
Oh, is he any good?
That's
very
the
successful
definition
band.
of rock star, Eric.
Yeah. 30 Seconds to Mars.
He could be a solo
Him and his
artist.
brother.
I don't. Okay. I've never heard any of his stuff.
No, yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars. He took 3 or 4 years off from acting to just pursue the band and really grow that. And they're I'm probably a bit old for them, but they are a very well known band.
I hate to say it, Lou, but when it comes to you being a little bit
Eric.
I wasn't going to mention the Beatles. I don't think you're too old for them.
I love the Beatles.
See, you're okay.
Don't be dissing the Beatles.
I was dissing Lou.
What's happened here?
Sorry, I thought I was clear about that. I'll be less subtle next time.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But yeah, no, he's a very accomplished performer as well as an actor.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, he's doing better than I am then. Okay. I have to say though, other than the casting, I've got mixed feelings about this movie because I spent most of the movie interested in what's going on. And I felt a lot of that was because of the actors. And I was kind of following along with what was going on and trying to figure out, is there a big plot twist coming? There has to be a big plot twist coming because the pacing of the movie is so slow and deliberate. And there were so many little pieces of foreshadowing that I thought, okay, there's got to be a twist coming up. And I was interested and it was a good journey through the story up until the end. And I kind of felt like there was too much unresolved. I like when a movie doesn't spoon feed you and makes you kind of figure things out. But I felt like this was going too far and leaving things unresolved. So I looked at like YouTube videos and stuff talking about, explaining the ending or whatever. I normally don't do that for most movies, but I wanted to see what people had to say about this one. And the general consensus was there's just not enough evidence to point things in one way or the other. And in fact, there are too many points where there are suggestions of there being multiple killers or various other different directions in which things can go. And we'll get into all that in a little bit here, but I kind of felt a little bit unfulfilled by the ending of the movie. But I want to know what you guys think. So Lou, why don't you take it and let me know in a little more detail how you felt.
Well, I mean, like you, I felt that the movie, progressed at a nice, slow, steady pace. It was maybe a little too slow, but it kept me engaged. It kept me wondering what was going on. It kept me, anxiously thinking, okay, this scumbag is got to be the one, but they can't pin it on him. And how they gonna, shouldn't they pin it on him? How are they going to prove he did it?
Right.
And he was smart enough to know how to handle him, how to push the buttons on the cops the right ways to make it, more engaging for us to watch, which I thought was excellent. And I actually liked the way it left things at the end because it was ambiguous. It was, you've got to give your own ending to it in your own head. And then wrestle with the whole thing of, what demons do you keep inside? What's going to haunt you forever if you knew or didn't know what happened? And Deke wrestled with his demons throughout the movie, and we got bits and pieces of that as we went along, and now we know what demons Baxter's going to have going forward, and what he's done to try to alleviate those demons from Baxter. And I think that, in the same vein of The Thing, I like the way this is ended where you don't know what happened.
Okay. So you like that aspect of the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Robin, what about you?
So I actually think this movie was misnamed. I don't think it was a crime drama or a thriller as it is. I see nothing neo-noir about it, which is what it was sort of set up to be. And quite frankly, I think it was a bad drama about two are we doing spoilers?
From this point on, I think it's going to be hard not to. So if you haven't seen the movie,
honestly,
this is a time to duck out and maybe go see it. But let's go for it.
Honestly, I think it was a very slow paced, miswritten. I didn't like the jarring quote unquote plot twist because it kept twisting you towards the film that it wasn't supposed to be. And the film that it wasn't supposed to be was just an exploration into two cops who did things wrong and tried not to get caught. And that left me pretty angry at the end. But the acting, I feel like the acting, again, this is, I guess I'm going to have to blame the director. I mean, he directed the actors as best as he could with his own script, which he wrote, and then he produced this thing too. So I kind of got a little angry with the director, writer, producer, rather than the actors. And that's frustrating because if you watched it more than once, there's no way the guy they set up could have been the guy. But, we're left with two brooding cops who couldn't do the right thing, and the right thing would have been to fess up.
Now see, Mr. Hancock, you made Robin angry, and that's always a bad thing. You don't want an angry Robin, sir.
I won't be using this in my film class. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you could use it as a precautionary tale.
Yeah.
Watch Seven and watch this. Let me ask you this. Do you think, I see a lot of people comparing it to Seven, and I have to say that went through my mind before I looked at anything online. Do you feel like, do you understand the comparisons there? And then do you feel like one is better than the other? And if so, why?
I don't know that I've seen 7, and if I have,
Okay.
it wasn't recently, and so it's not standing out in my brain. So
Okay.
I'll apologize for that.
Well, in that case, Lou, any thoughts on that? I know you've seen 7, right?
Yeah, I've seen 7,
Okay.
and I've seen some things online talking about how it's similar, and I guess it is a little bit. I wouldn't put a real comparison to it though.
All right. I think, I mean, you've got the older cop, you've got the younger cop. The younger cop kind of pushes the boundaries a little bit too much. The villain takes the younger cop out into the wilderness to give him the stuff he needs to crack the case at the end, and then things don't go the way he planned. You know, there are some plot elements that do seem I don't want to say derivative, because I don't mean it as an insult, but I guess, yeah, maybe a little bit derivative of that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I didn't see the direct connection, but I mean, I guess I can kind of see it's similar in tone in some parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here. I haven't seen it, so I can't.
You should. It's one of those.
It's a good movie.
And as a film studies instructor, I would be really interested in your take on it. Maybe that's one we should add to our list.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I mean, and good cast, good story.
It would be a relevant follow-up to watching this. So
sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll put off 6 Underground another week and we'll do that one. But I have to agree with a lot of what you said, Robin. I did not dislike it as much as you did, and it certainly didn't make me angry. And I think I took a lot of notes. Maybe not a lot. There are some reasons to think that maybe Sparma is the killer. The cable coiled up in the repair shop where he worked was the same type of cable that was used. It was the same cable that was used to tie up the woman in the apartment. He kept stopping at that one point where the bodies were found, which had not been released to the press. One of the victims' last meal was roast beef, which he goes to a place that specializes in serving roast beef over and over again. The whole point of the movie was all of the evidence is coincidental. It's all circumstantial. And so
it is, especially when you consider he was a cop follower with, I mean, he wanted to be, right? He wanted to be the very guys who were setting him up to be what he wasn't.
Right.
And
to the point where he was willing to go to jail for that fact, probably. Like, you get the impression he would have been okay with it.
Yeah, and he had confessed to other things, and they knew he wasn't the killer or whatever. That he was unbalanced is, I completely agree. That Denzel Washington's character capitalized on that. We saw in the second act of the movie when they bring somebody in, he has them bring him in just so he could torture the guy. And so it told me more about Denzel Washington's character, solved his whole dilemma.
We're back.
Which is to come clean.
I'm sorry, I lost you guys. So yeah, but that's okay.
No,
Lou's got the audio, so even if YouTube is a little messed up.
Yeah, I was listening.
Lou's got the audio for the podcast.
So the one thing about that, though, Robin, I mean, we don't know from the viewer's standpoint if this guy's guilty or not. I mean,
we can use the same deductive reasoning.
But so here's the thing, though. Again, all of the evidence is circumstantial. So whether or not he did it is not relevant to whether or not he could be convicted of it. And you've got 2 cops that understand all the evidence is circumstantial. They can't find any hard evidence. Whether he did it or not at the end of the movie has now become moot, because even if he did it, they haven't found enough evidence to be able to convict him. So now Rami Malek's character is going to go to jail one way or the other. Even if he got the right guy, you can't prove it in a court of law. Yeah. So there's that whole issue of doing, quote, the right thing, which I know they didn't. We'll come back to that. But like trying to do the right thing and get the right guy and serve justice, even if the process isn't going to allow you to do that. And things just kind of get weird from there. But back to your point a minute ago, Robin, about watching Denzel Washington kind of push for this to be the bad guy. It's really, the whole movie is really more about Denzel Washington's character and the journey that he goes through. It's almost more of a character drama than it is a crime plot driven story, because honestly, the plot is kind of weak. Like there's it's a detailed plot, but it's not a very strong plot from a story point of view. It's really more about watching Denzel Washington's character come in, get wrapped up in this concept of leave the past buried, because once it comes back up again, it blows up in your face. And he is actually kind of the one blowing it up in his own face, almost to the point where you wonder, maybe, like there's a theory that he is the killer and orchestrated this whole thing to use this guy who's obsessed with things as a scapegoat, to the point where he even reinforces it with the Barrette at the end of the movie, not to clear Rami Malek's conscience, which is what a lot of people think, but to further solidify with him, the only person who was working with Denzel Washington through this whole thing, that yes, it was definitely that guy, case closed, let's not revisit this. Maybe Denzel Washington is actually the guy who did it all. And the problem is we'll never know, because there's so little in this movie. Even if you want to dive deeper and investigate it, all of the facts point in so many different directions, you have no idea what it is you're supposed to think. So back to you liking the open ending, Lou, the only way I think that's possible is if you really understand that you're watching a character drama and a character try to come to terms with what he went through and really close everything off, than it is about trying to solve a crime. But then I don't like it.
Well, I mean, you know, we get the insight into Denzel's character about what he's gone through and what that tore him apart and so forth, and how that went wrong. And you know, in the end of this, in my opinion of it, is he is doing something to keep Baxter from going through the same thing he went through. Hopefully to save his family life, hopefully to save his conscience.
Except he kind of wrapped Baxter up in all of that from the beginning, though, really. I mean, you've got the closure at the end.
Wrapped him.
What's that?
Baxter pulled him in, though. I mean,
Baxter pulled him in.
True. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Because he was ready to leave and go home, and you know, Baxter was like, "Well, you know, buy me breakfast."
Okay, that's fair.
But Lou, I was making the point not to talk over you, but to say that we seem to have enough evidence to try and prove that Deke was the killer. We have this almost the same amount of evidence. We have this over focus and over fixation on the boots. We have the fact that, you know, the walk is different. The girl in the girl that was brought in, the witness who was brought in, knows that the killer is in the building, but we don't know which person she would have ultimately tagged as the killer.
You could even argue that she tagged Jared Leto's character because she had just saw him a few seconds ago coming out of the bathroom and he looked creepy, and that might have, you know,
but she was also bent down and focused on the floor. Again, the over fixation on the boots, right? And so it's this very interesting, and the build of the guy that we saw in the car at the very first scene of the movie. The build is completely different than the guy, right? That they tag this, and that they end up tagging this.
If you go back and pause it, so, no beard and no long hair.
Yeah, and so there was a point in the movie, Eric, when I actually thought Denzel Washington's character was the killer, but then again, you know, I sort of decided to go with the movie to see where it was going to go. Right. There was also a point where I thought maybe Rami Malek's character was the killer. I wondered
that too.
You know, there could have been that moment.
The only thing that saved me from that theory was there was a point in the movie where he was investigating, and then he was responding based on things he found in such a way that I thought, okay, that he's alone in that scene. he wouldn't react that way if he were the killer. So I thought that, then I started to stray away from it. But right up to the end, I thought we were going to have this big twist where they revealed that it was Denzel Washington all along. And I'm still not convinced it wasn't. Yep. But honestly, I think looking at all this stuff, there's just as likelihood, if not a higher likelihood, that we never saw the killer in the movie.
True.
Other than the beginning.
See, and I never had the inkling in my head that it was Deke.
Okay, and that's fair. There's also enough evidence to push you completely away from that theory. So
yeah.
But that's the problem.
So maybe it's a crunchy movie. I don't know. There's enough there to chew on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things I like about this is, here we are, three people with three different kind of views on what this movie had, and I think that is a successful movie in itself. If it's giving people, if it gives you the freedom in your own mind to create some of that story in your head, I think that's a good thing.
I will give you that in the sense that we've talked about that before. If we can all walk away from something different from a movie, then that's a good thing. In this movie, though, I feel like you walked away with one thing. I walked away confused. She walked away confused and or apathetic by the time you walked away. Mm-hmm. So it's not even that I walked away with something different. It's that I'm still trying to figure out what it is I walked away with. I haven't settled. Like there's not, and I don't think a rewatch is going to help. And I don't feel like I have an insight or a perspective necessarily. I feel like there's just a lot missing from the film. I feel like it was selling the movie as a crime drama, like a whodunit. But if you look at every other whodunit, like the most recent one, probably Knives Out, whether you were able to figure it out or not, and whether it made sense or not, once you know who did it, you should, in any good crime movie, be able to go back to the beginning and rewatch it and see all of those different little pieces along the way and say, oh yeah, I missed that. I didn't see how that fit in. With this movie, there's not enough to solve the crime. The crime is never going to be solved. We can sit here and talk movie theory or plot theory all we want. We will never solve it because there's just not enough evidence. If I go find a dead body in a field with a gunshot wound, I can tell you about the body and I can tell you that there was a gunshot, and then I may never know anything about it again because I'm out in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere. That, where's the person? They could be in Florida by now or Spain. What kind of gun was used? I mean, you might be able to figure that out from ballistics, but the amount of information you're going to get could be so small. You don't even have leads to start following up. And in this movie, I walked away thinking there's nothing here except the character story, which was kind of sad and tragic and didn't really feel good. I don't know. Robin?
I do want to ask you both a question. How did Deke know which red beret, what shape size the red beret was?
I don't know that he did.
I thought about that too, yeah.
Because I don't know that Rami Malek's character, Baxter, knew either. That
was why. Yeah, that's why I came to my head. I'm like, how did he know? And I'm like, well, maybe he didn't know either. Maybe it was just, he knew it was a red beret.
Yeah. He said...
Yeah. You know how many red berets there are out there 4 in the world?
I've
right,
counted
but if he doesn't know what it looked like, any red beret would do it.
And that's the thing. The only way to find out is, I think it was presented as anecdotal evidence by the parents that she always wore a red beret. So I think that if he ever took that back to the parents and said, hey, did it look like this? There's a 99% chance they're going to say, yeah, no, that's not it. But he's never going to do that.
Right.
But we know it was it.
Well, I think did they show it in a flashback thing?
Yeah, they showed her putting it in her hair.
And it was the same one.
It was the same red beret, but I don't know how.
Again, circumstantial.
Deke knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how Deke knew which red beret to get.
I don't think...
And Rami Malek's character knew what it looked like.
I don't think the implication was supposed to be that Deke did know. I think the implication was Deke knew that Baxter didn't know anything other than it was red. And so any red beret would have done. I think.
But that's not true. Baxter saw it.
Did he?
The parents showed him. Yes.
He was shown the beret.
Yeah, he was shown.
Then there we go. Then Deke did it, for crying
white.
out loud. Problem solved. I was right.
And so that's what I mean about these jarring sort of twists. Like I would have to go back and watch the movie to see when the intersection between the actual red beret and Deke and Baxter happened. I know it because I saw the girl with it, and it was evident enough that was going to be a thing because it was made a thing, right? That foreshadowing piece.
Mm-hmm.
I think the movie was really good at foreshadowing and less good at tying up all of those foreshadows. There's a bunch of shadows out there still.
Yeah, it's a very shadowy movie. I think as a crime thriller, well, first of all, it wasn't thrilling. So a crime thriller, maybe not. As a crime drama, I think it didn't work because there's no resolution to the crime. It's just, we're never going to know, and we're supposed to be okay with not knowing. And I get the idea that not everything has to be explained and all that. But the thing is, if you're telling a story, you have to end it. Or you're only telling part of the story. That's something I think that is forgotten sometimes. If you're telling a story, this story needs to be complete. Or don't start it if you're not going to finish it. I don't have to know every detail. And it's more interesting sometimes if there are things left to your imagination or things left to discovery or investigation. That's fine. But the story, if not the plot, has to be complete. So if we throw away the detective story and we go with the, psychologically damaged character study, that story may be complete in the sense that he went through a journey, saw someone else go through what he went through, tried to do something to prevent that character from ending up like he did by giving that character the closure he didn't have. In the sense that he was convincing Baxter that the person Baxter killed was actually guilty. Whereas Deke knows the person he accidentally killed was not guilty. They were a victim. They were innocent. And he had just...
They were a victim.
Right. And so Deke has to live with that his whole life. He was trying to prevent Baxter from having to go through that. That is at least a complete story. Mm-hmm. If you look at it as a character drama. That's not what this movie was billed as, though. And so I guess to me, I don't know.
Right.
It wasn't a bad story, but
if you look at it, Jared Leto, if he wasn't the killer, he was also a victim. So,
yeah,
sure.
It's hard to sympathize with him, but yeah, I mean, well, he was definitely a victim in the sense that obviously he was killed and didn't deserve to die.
Right.
And he did technically commit a crime lying about committing a murder. But other than that, he was just a creep.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, he was. I mean, definitely creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't even know what else to say about this movie. The only other note I really took, other than trying to figure out who it was that did any of this, why at the beginning of the movie was this girl driving and then stopped at a diner and then she's running through a field and then she runs into another road. At no point did she even attempt to take out a cell phone. Oh, I don't have a signal. Okay. You can't know that without checking first. She literally didn't even take it out.
Well, it was also 1990 too. So
No. That one wasn't that. The whole movie didn't take place in the 90s, did it?
No, it was 90s. That particular scene was.
That scene
I thought that was the victim that came in that was the witness.
Yeah. That's the same girl.
That identified Jared Leto.
No.
No. Yeah, I don't know how that story.
Then what was the whole point of the opening scene?
That was. Yeah, I can't place that within the movie because it happened. It was 1990.
Was it?
I remember the thing saying at the very beginning, the credit.
Says, 1990. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what that had to do with the rest of the story. I don't know where that fit in.
Then that was some really crappy storytelling.
Unless I just missed where that was, because I don't know what that had to do with
at the end
else.
of the movie, I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, the whole opening scene, what was that all about then? And then, I thought, okay, so the girl that was in the police station, who was the witness, who then they were showing the photos of, and Jared Leto, I was like, can I see him? Can I double check this guy? I thought, okay, that must be her. If it wasn't...
Well, this is also... You're assuming the film jumps to 2021. All it says, if you read the plot, all it says is sometime later.
Okay, so if the whole thing happened in the 90s, that's okay.
It could be 1991, 1992, 1994.
Well, the whole thing is set earlier because, I mean, when he goes to his office before he gets into L.A., he's got a big old freaking typewriter on his desk.
And one of the TVs was a CRT TV, wasn't it?
I don't know.
In the apartment? I mean,
this movie could have been all set
so
in that
okay, so the whole thing was set in the 1990s. Okay, so
was.
that's fine. So that's still...
And the cars were all of age, too. So
okay, fair enough. So that gets rid of the cell phone question. So she was the one who was looking through the photos, and it was all in that same... But no cell phones.
But why she got out of her car and left the keys in it and running and didn't get back in the car and drive away, beyond me. But I also don't know how that fits into the rest, unless... Is she the girl that they're looking for?
No, I thought she was the witness.
No, she was the girl that was stalked by the motorist on the highway. The connection for us was supposed to be the car.
I give up.
So we were supposed to assume that the guy driving the car on the highway with chasing her down was some sort of a killer. Mm-hmm. And she was going to help make that connection for them. That was, again, one of those things that was very loosely, nobody could have, because you don't know that he was going to kill her.
At this point, I don't care that he was going to kill her.
Okay, so
I don't care.
Actually, she is the witness.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at this now. She is the same girl.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That was in the police station tying her shoe and saw Jared Leto, and
that's what I was. Okay,
so she is the witness. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I guess my point is it doesn't matter. The whole thing is just so all over the place.
Yeah.
That at this point, any attempt to try to figure out what actually happened, I don't care anymore. The only way to find out what happened is to assign a bunch more detectives to go out and actually do a good job of investigating and finding things, which apparently there isn't anything else to find. So. Sorry, cold case. Move on. Don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. Would I recommend it to be watched by somebody else? Sure, because it's got good actors.
Yeah.
Am I ever going to see it again?
No. I would agree with you. I would recommend it in the sense that I thought that there was interesting character development. I thought the character story for Denzel Washington was interesting. And I enjoyed watching the interactions with the characters and the way everything developed. I just didn't like the way it ended. And I think my real problem with the movie is the ending. But we probably should have talked about whether we recommended it or not before we got into spoilers. But I would say I would probably recommend, if you're interested in that sort of thing and you like good acting and good performances, that it's worth your time to watch. But I would never rewatch it. And if you don't think you're interested in it, you're probably correct. Don't push yourself to watch it unless you are already interested in it.
So we were going to watch other things too. And now I think 7's a good idea. I mean, if you guys think it's a good idea, do you guys think I'm going to be able to sleep?
No, you need to watch it early in the morning on a Saturday morning.
It's not
okay. So it's not scary. There are some...
Okay. That's fine.
It's disturbing.
Very, very disturbing scenes and some disturbing images. And it's not so much that you would be scared to go to bed. It's that you would be too disturbed to go to bed.
My husband's going to be thrilled.
Ask him. Ask Tim if he's seen it. I bet Tim has seen it. I would be surprised if I'm a little bit surprised you haven't, just because it is one of those movies that gets talked about a lot in film circles and you know.
It's definitely a well put together movie.
Even if you don't like the movie, you will have things to say about it.
Okay.
So it is, without question, it is discussion worthy.
Well, that's perfect.
And 2 of the 3 of us have seen it, so we know we're safe. Okay. And then we're
I do have a question about the little things.
I don't know that anybody's going to be able to answer, Lou.
Well, the whole thing about the red beret. The only time I remember that being talked about in the movie was when Baxter's character mentions it, but I don't remember them ever showing.
After he mentions it later on,
wearing it,
I thought we saw a scene of her either putting it on or walking, and it was on the back of her head, but I don't remember.
Yeah, running with the guy. Yep.
I don't know, Lou. There were so many things that were like kind of just scattered around.
I think it was
okay.
She was running with him. They stop. She futzes with her hair.
Okay.
She takes the beret off. She puts it back on. She's like, "Oh, it's only 3 blocks." He's like, "Let me run you to your house." That was like a very memorable scene for me because I thought for sure she's the next one down.
Well, I thought that too, but I didn't remember the beret from that scene. I thought there was a flashback to it in a later scene, but I must have been confused. That wouldn't have made sense.
And this is how disjointed this movie was. I don't think I realized that was the girl they were talking about with the beret.
I didn't think so either.
Because I knew she was a victim. I'm like, okay, yeah, she's gone.
She's gone.
And we had the parents that were there looking for her, and they're like, no, it's still a missing persons case because it's only been whatever how many hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that to me had nothing. There was still, they were trying to pin other things on Jared Leto's character, not this one murder. So yeah. But that's how disjointed this was. And the more we bring up these kind of things we talk about, I'm like, yeah, okay, there was a lot of problems with the movie and the story and comprehensiveness and cohesiveness and understanding.
Go on, Lou. There are more.
No, I'm good. I'm
my hubby assures me that I will not be afraid. So
yeah, no, you won't be afraid.
No, you won't be afraid.
It'll just be are you too disturbed to sleep?
I am often too disturbed.
I don't mean your baseline state, Robin. I mean, I'm no psychiatrist, but All right. Well, so next time we will look at 7. That's something I'm confident a lot of our listeners and viewers have watched. Maybe not in a long time, so you might want to rewatch it. But I think that's.
Sure. I have a long weekend.
Yeah, that's something good to check out. Then we will come back to 6 Underground, which is a Netflix exclusive. And then if you want, we can go back and hit Rebecca. You said was really good.
Well, one of the reasons I like Rebecca, and before we record it, I'm going to go back and watch so we can't call it a reboot. Oh, no. We can't call it.
I'm not going to watch another black and white movie.
It's not black and white. It's based on the same novel that Hitchcock's Rebecca was based on.
Oh, I didn't know Hitchcock did a Rebecca.
Hitchcock did a Rebecca.
I would watch that.
It's based on the same novel. So I wanted to be very careful when we record that I get it right, because this is not just a redo of Hitchcock. It is a movie based on the same novel that Hitchcock based his movie on. And so I am going to go back and watch. When I say I have to watch myself, because even in this I said I'm going to go back and watch the original. It's not a function of original and reboot. It's a function of one novel, 2 movies, and I wanted to see
2 different adaptations of the same novel.
Perspective. Okay. Yeah, because I think that this is where the director conversation is going to come into play. Knowing you guys know Hitchcock is one of my faves,
and one that I am embarrassingly ignorant. Well, I shouldn't say ignorant of. I know enough about him. I've just seen so few of his movies, so maybe I need to watch.
You know what you would really love? You would love Strangers on a Train.
I've heard of it, and it's one of the ones I want to see. Why don't you? Do you know where I can watch the Hitchcock one? Is it streaming anywhere?
Strangers on a Train?
Well, yeah, that too, but Rebecca.
I will.
If you can find it, I will watch. I said no black and white movies. Alfred Hitchcock would be the exception. I will watch that before we record on the newer adaptation.
Yeah, I'll watch both of them too. We can find it. Yeah.
I am overdue for checking out a lot of Hitchcock stuff. Plus,
there was a movie that, speaking of like whodunits and stuff, a movie that always fascinated me from when I was, I first saw it probably when I was in junior high, maybe. And not that it was still an old movie then, Eric, so don't get your.
I know excited. They had movies back then. They didn't have sound or anything, but I know they, yeah.
A Witness for the Prosecution.
Okay.
Was a fantastic movie. Who was in this now?
Is that Hitchcock?
Tyrone Power was one of the main characters in it. But yeah, good. No, it was not Hitchcock. Who did the story here? Billy Wilder directed. I don't know who he is. Screenplay, Billy Wilder, Harry Kernitz,
I've heard of Billy Wilder.
Lawrence Marcus.
Look him up.
It's a great movie though. I haven't seen it in years, obviously, but it's a good twist. It's black and white. I think it was black and white. But a good twist at the end to kind of give you that, back when movies really kind of made you think.
Okay. So. Well, remind me about that again and I'll see it. But before we go any further, I'm not looking for black and white recommendations, guys.
No, I know.
I said I would see that as a caveat, but okay.
Okay. So next up, we're doing.
We're going to do 7 next. 7. After that, we're going to do Rebecca.
6 Underground.
And then we'll go from there. We'll see what else comes out. There'll be new releases, hopefully.
So the Rebecca that Hitchcock directed, which has Laurence Olivier in it and Joan Fontaine.
I've heard of one of them.
Is says it's on Amazon, but I don't think it's Prime, so I'll have to search.
Okay, we'll find it. We've got a couple of weeks. So,
okay.
All right. So until then, your homework, ladies and gentlemen out there, is to watch 7 by David Fincher. I'm not sure exactly where it might be streaming right now. A lot of you probably already own it on DVD or.
I think it's on HBO Max. I think I just looked it up.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, HBO Max. If you have a subscription to that, it's on HBO Max.
All right. So we're going to watch that next. And that's going to do it for this episode of Movie Chatter. Thank you for hanging out with us. Be sure to hit randomchatter.com for all of our audio podcasts. And we will get this episode posted with the uninterrupted audio. If you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know how it's going to look. I'm going to have to go back and watch it afterwards because of a little internet hiccup there, which happened before, but go figure it would happen now.
Lou, I hiccuped. Is that what happened?
Yeah, you stopped for a good 20 seconds, 30 seconds or so.
No. We kept going. You're the one who dropped off.
Not from this perspective.
I was gonna say.
I mean, neither of you were saying anything interesting
like
at that point,
listening.
from what I could tell. Just saying. Anyway, if you're listening to the audio podcast and you want to know what we're talking about, go to randomchatter.com/YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and the like button. Any other good-looking buttons there that you want to hit, go ahead. Just don't hit the thumbs down button. Just talk to Lou privately.
If it were that easy, if it were that easy, I would have already done it.
Well, that's true. It's very easy. We will walk you through hitting the subscribe button and the like button, Robin. It is way easier than you think it is. Also easy would be going to randomchatter.com/Discord, joining our Discord community. We have channels set up for each one of the shows on the Random Chatter Network. You can hop into the Movie Chatter channel and discuss this or other movies with us. And you can tell everybody else how they're wrong and I'm right. I can't pay people to do that anymore. I don't have any more money. So I'll tell you thank you later. I guess that's all I can do. Well, nobody's going to tell me I'm right otherwise, Robin. I have to bribe people. It's pretty sad.
It's very true.
I do what I can.
Is that why I'm still on the show?
Because we need somebody to make sense of things.
I tell Eric he's right.
Yeah. You and I have been covering movies for years, and we realized, no, we need a smart person here who understands how movies work, and so we brought Robin in. Yeah. Poor Robin. But that's going to do it. So once again, we will see you next week. We will be recording Tuesday night next week. So catch up on 7, and we will see you then. Until then,